Good morning. The Ebola outbreak prompts simulated emergency drills set to take place across quarantine stations around the nation. Preparing for the papal visit, this Thursday is the day Pope Francis touches down in Korea, and the capital is in preparation for this landmark event. The World Symposium on Choral Music touches down in Seoul this year. The theme is Healing and Youth at a time the country needs it. And if you make it, they will come. Patbingsu has revamped its reputation as the It Summer Snack on Korea Today, Monday, August 11th, 2014.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And a happy Monday. Thank you for joining us on Korea Today. I'm Kim Young alongside Oh Jin-ju and Kim Min-jung.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you had a great weekend. The weather this weekend had a mind of its own. It was cold and hot and rainy, and it stopped raining. It really was hectic trying to keep up with it.
We did see some rain yesterday, but after the skies cleared up, a double rainbow was seen in the skies in Seoul and in Gyeonggi area.
Look at that.
It just gives you a special feeling, something related to some good luck.
Miraculous will happen, right? One rainbow is beautiful to look at, but two,
that's right.
Ooh, this must mean something good.
Well, I'm looking for the double
right?
pot of gold at the end of both of those rainbows.
Go search for those pots. Beautiful to look at, but the weather is a bit hectic, but I'm thinking we're looking at some hot conditions today.
That's right.
We'll take a look at the weather conditions with Chun Song-cho joining us later on. But first, let's check our top story. Amid rising concerns over the Ebola outbreak, quarantine stations across Korea are set to hold emergency response exercises to test their abilities to respond to an Ebola patient entering a Korean airport or a seaport. Seoul's Health Minister Moon Hyung-pyo discussed such measures with the heads of 13 quarantine offices nationwide on Sunday and asked them to be on high alert to screen any patients with hemorrhagic fevers related to the deadly virus. Minister Moon expressed regret that some of the travelers returning from affected African countries were not followed up on thoroughly. He vowed to strengthen quarantine measures at Incheon International Airport and Korea's other gateways, Gimpo and Jeju airports, as well as major seaports. Such move comes as the number of countries on the watch list rise and a group of Korean nationals residing in Ebola-hit countries are set to return to Korea in the coming days.
Pyongyang claims the North Korean regime had no choice but to develop nuclear weapons because of policies and military pressure from the United States. During the ASEAN Regional Forum at the Myanmar International Convention Center on Sunday, North Korean Foreign Minister Ri Soo-yong stated that the North's nuclear weapons program is a quote-unquote deterrence against what it calls U.S. hostility and vowed to strengthen the country's nuclear capabilities. This followed an agreement among South Korea's Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se and his counterparts U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and Japanese Foreign Minister Fumio Kishida to beef up their coordinated efforts against North Korea's nuclear threats and belligerent missile launches during a sideline meeting.
The Pope is coming to Korea this week, and starting today, access to parts of the Gwanghwamun Square will be restricted as preparations get underway for the beatification of 124 Korean Catholic martyrs. From Friday, all roads near the square will be cordoned off, including the roads around the Seoul City Hall, as an estimated 1 million people are expected to attend the papal mass on Saturday. The Seoul Metropolitan Government is planning to set up some 30 medical centers around the area, along with 24 ambulances and 350 safety personnel on standby. 300,000 water bottles will be handed out to prevent heat strokes, while restrooms at 29 buildings in the Gwanghwamun area will be open for public access.
Good Monday morning. It's time to run through the front pages of your newspapers. Now, quite a variety of stories we have this morning in the local papers. The ASEAN Regional Forum took off on Saturday over in Myanmar, which brought together top diplomats from 26 Asia-Pacific countries and the European Union. Let's begin with a story on that first, on 중앙일보 at the top here. Now, first taking a look at this image. This is at the ASEAN Regional Forum. In the middle is Korean Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se with his Japanese counterpart Fumio Kishida on the left and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi on the right. And the headline above reads, Korea's diplomatic crisis comes from Japan. Now, the Daily asked 30 foreign affairs experts here in the country and abroad the question, what do they think of the status quo and future of Korea's diplomatic situation? Now, the experts responded that Korea's diplomatic crisis stems from its relationship with Japan. They also added that Japan poses the most imminent threat to Korea, thus requiring the most urgent attention. And moving on over to Pyongyang Shinmun for a look at this side story regarding the upcoming visit by Pope Francis. The title says 5 days of honor. And as you can see here in the subheadlines, Pope Francis will hold a papal ceremony to beatify 124 Korean Catholic martyrs on Saturday morning this week as part of his 5-day visit to Korea on August 14th through the 18th. Now, this historic ceremony is expected to draw 500,000 people at the very least to the main road linking Gwanghwamun Square and another ceremonial plaza in front of Seoul City Hall. And now moving to India, let's go to this front page image on Joseon-ilbo. And this picture is titled Flame for Incheon Asian Games lit in New Delhi, D-39. So that means the countdown is at 39 days till the 17th Asian Games to be held in Incheon next month. And the flame that will be used at the Asiad was lit in New Delhi on Saturday. Now, this event was held at the National Stadium in the Indian capital, the city that hosted the first Asian Games back in 1951. Now, and the latest event also marks the first time that the torch of the Games has been lit at the venue of the first Asiad. And now checking up on the economy, let's go to the Korea Economic Daily for this headline at the top regarding the portal Naver. The header says Naver to begin small sum transfers via Band. It looks like Korea's biggest web portal Naver will begin a mobile cash transferring service through the social networking mobile application Band this month. Now, with KakaoTalk, the free mobile instant messaging application that already has this small money transferring function, it looks like now with Naver's launch of the service, competition for taking the initiative in the mobile financial market among IT companies will be intensified. And finally, for a look at the Mail Business newspaper, we'll take a look at this story at the bottom there regarding the Korean economy. And the headline reads, China's growth slowdown is the biggest threat to the Korean economy. Now, Korean economists have said a slowdown of the Chinese economy is the biggest external threat to the Korean economy, according to a survey. Now, if you take a look at the subheadline, the analysis comes from a poll of 60 member economists of the Korean Economic Association conducted by this daily. The experts argued that Korea needs to be prepared for the Chinese economy's downward risk over a long term as the economy increasingly relies on China. And if you take a look at this chart here regarding the main external threats to the Korean economy in the second half of this year, the biggest threat, almost 41% in fact, goes to a decelerated growth of the Chinese economy. And the second on the list in the meantime is the normalization of the U.S.'s benchmark interest rate. That was picked by about 21% of the respondents. Now, the absence of a new growth engine is seen as Korea's greatest internal problem. And that was a look at your newspaper headlines for this Monday. And now coming up are the stock numbers from Friday.
The morning is off to a cool start here in Seoul. It's almost like August is gone. Where is August?
It's going to come back.
Yeah?
Trust me. No, don't, you must be careful what you're asking for right now. But the overnight temperatures, it did remain very, very cool. So cold that we actually had to close the windows, turn off the AC. And yesterday we had some torrential rain in some parts.
That's right.
Thanks, or actually because of Halong. And we'll find out what today's weather is going to be like. It looks like we were getting some clear conditions, though.
That's right. Let's turn to Chun Sung-cho, who's standing by for us outdoors. Good morning to you, Sung-cho.
Good morning, guys. What a breathtaking view from the Namsan Mountain. I'm reporting live from the Namsan Park. Thanks to the rain yesterday, the visibility can't be better to have a view of the entire city. Over the weekend, Typhoon Halong turned its course more towards Japan and left little impact in Korea. And now it seems like we're going to have this sunny and hot weather for a while. Some parts of the Gangwon-do, Gyeongsang-buk-do, and Jeju provinces are receiving scattered drizzles as of now, but a high-pressure system that's approaching from China will clear out the skies by the afternoon. Not only that, we also have a mass of cold air coming from the north, and this is why it's a lot cooler than last week. Right now, it's about 20 degrees Celsius, but temperatures will swing right back to 30 degrees in the afternoon. And with that, let's move on over to get a closer look at today's forecast. Midday highs all across the country hover around 30. Seoul, Jeju, and Daejeon stay at 29, and Gwangju and Gangneung are the hottest at 31 degrees Celsius. Sunny and hot weather will stay with us until Friday, when another rainfall is expected nationwide through the weekend. This is all for me with the weather forecast. Back to Min-jung.
Let's now check the global headlines we're following this Monday morning. We'll turn to Eunice Kim, who joins us from the News Center. Good morning to you, Eunice.
Good morning, Min-jung.
Now, do get us caught up with the updates on the Ebola outbreak. I believe Nigeria has some new precautionary directives in place after declaring a state of national emergency last Friday.
Right. Nigeria joined Liberia and Sierra Leone, becoming the third West African country to declare a state of emergency. And now its health ministry is banning the transport of corpses across state and national borders. This means Ebola victims in and out of Africa's most populous country must be buried in the community where they die. Nigeria's Ebola death grew by one last week after a nurse who was caring for the country's first Ebola fatality had also died. Now, several others around the world are being examined for Ebola. 2 patients were quarantined in Canada and Germany over the weekend following trips to Nigeria and Sierra Leone but tested negative to the hemorrhagic virus. Reuters reports a 32-year-old man hospitalized in Hong Kong also tested negative to the virus after showing symptoms of diarrhea and vomiting. Meanwhile, a Spanish priest who was infected with Ebola while working in Liberia will be treated with the experimental drug ZMapp. He is currently undergoing medical treatment in Madrid. And we're about an hour into a new 72-hour ceasefire on the Gaza Strip, brokered by Egypt and accepted by both Israeli and Palestinian leaders on Sunday. Now, the new humanitarian pause would allow for supply and aid to be brought into the war-torn enclave. Negotiators from both sides are also back in Cairo for indirect peace talks to reach a permanent ceasefire agreement. Israeli negotiators had left Egypt after rockets were shot into Israel hours before the first 3-day truce expired. And on Sunday, IDF said it recorded some 30 rocket attacks from Gaza, while Palestinian medical officials said 7 people were killed in Israeli airstrikes, including a bodyguard of a Hamas leader. The Egyptian Foreign Ministry said the new humanitarian pause was intended to facilitate the flow of humanitarian aid into Gaza and urged both sides to exploit the truce to resume indirect negotiations immediately.
Let's just hope that the two sides will be able to stick to that truce. In the meantime, Turkey has held its first direct presidential vote, and looks like the winner is the outgoing prime minister.
Right. Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan held the prime ministerial post for 3 terms, which is the maximum of what is legally allowed. And now he looks to be the president as well. With nearly all the votes counted, Erdogan had 52% of the vote, and his main rival, with 38% of the ballot, has conceded defeat. And in a speech in Ankara, Erdogan thanked all of his supporters and said he wants to strengthen Turkey's largely ceremonial presidency. Erdogan is credited with boosting Turkey's economy and for giving a voice to conservatives in that country. But critics do point to his authoritarian approach and Islamic leanings. The presidential term is good for the next 5 years. And with that, we'll wrap your look at the global headlines we're following this morning.
And still to come, who knew these animations could groove like K-pop's hottest? And speaking of grooving, we'll take a look at some special flash mobs across Seoul, plus creative and playful makeovers for the urban landscape, and more coming up on Viral Feed.
For this Monday morning on our arts and culture segment, we have talked about, I think, many different forms of the arts in the past, but we're going to talk about something that's a little bit different. I believe it's the first time we're talking about choral music, and we have a special event that's happening. And joining us is Imuni to talk more about it. Good morning.
Right, good morning. So Korea has a plentiful supply of choral groups, some of which have really gone on to be quite successful in the global choral community. And so the International Federation for Choral Music was actually established in 1982 with the intent of creating a platform for these global choral music groups to share and exchange with each other. And from there, the World Symposium on Choral Music was created, and it's become a worldwide event that travels and has set down in Seoul, the host city. Take a look.
A dozen or so voices, whimsical harmonization on the stage that'll get any foot tapping. It's a choir, but this group has so much more to offer than just their voices.
We are here to show a great and honorable image of Africa.
The International Federation for Choral Music has put together the World Symposium on Choral Music, held every 3 years, where they aim to use the universality of the choir to mend gaps between nations. The location of the symposium changes every time in order to include the many participants, and this year's has touched down in Seoul, each country bringing with it works composed under the theme of healing and youth.
So we've asked each choir to prepare programs that talk about this theme in different ways. Some places, may talk about how healing is done through music and about how you are healing the sick. Other people have taken it as a theme about world peace and healing the world. So it's gone in many, many different ways.
The National Theatre of Korea is now the stage for 19 different countries, which means a flurry of differences in culture and tradition. And while the goal of the symposium is to create harmony in the world, the diversity is very much welcomed, as it gives people a chance to share their heritage and customs through the songs of their people.
Norway has very many mountains and valleys, so that means it's different traditions were evolving in one valley, and then the next valley had something completely different. So it is a very rich and very diverse tradition. And I believe it is a fantastic treasure that Norway has, so I'm very happy to be able to present it here in the other side of the world.
As the host nation, Korea also has a great deal to offer to the symposium. There's strong support for choral music in Korea, and as a result, the art has flourished, with hundreds of choral groups found across the nation. And this year's theme of healing and youth comes at a much-needed time when Korea is still in mourning from the Seoul ferry accident, where most of the victims were still in their youth.
One of the pieces that I have programmed is a work called Requiem, as we sing this in honor of those who have been lost, but especially for comfort for those who mourn their loss. And we hope that this music will bring that to all of our delegates, but also to the wonderful people of Korea.
There definitely is an impact on the voices, what voices can deliver when they're in a choir and in a group, right? So we've had a chance to take a peek at some of the performances. What else is included in this symposium?
Right, so this is a very unique event, you know, a gathering of over this year 1,000 musicians, some of the world's top choir musicians. And so they're also holding seminars and lectures featuring, you know, the works of some of the world's top choral musicians. And so it's really a unique event for people to get the insight from each other and to really share from a global aspect, you know, the choral community and what's going on.
Okay, so if you are in the choral community, if that is your thing or forte, your bag of goodies, then this is something that you're going to have to really check out. But it is nearing the end of it, right?
Right. So they're holding performances through this Wednesday. And so they have 6 more performances set, and they're actually holding a final performance at the Seoul Art Center featuring the World Vision Children's Choir. And so it's a very unique opportunity to see a very, you know, world-renowned choir group. And so I really recommend this particular event because it only happens once every 3 years. But, you know, it's not just your neighborhood choir groups, it's, you know, world-renowned choir groups all gathered into one roof. And so it's a very unique opportunity to see choir. You know, if you're not familiar with it, you could check it out, something new. Or if you really are a fan of choir music, you know, it's a very, very good opportunity.
All right, well, sounds great. For you choir fans, this one is not to miss. All right, thank you very much, Uni.
Always a pleasure.
Stay with us on Korea Today because still ahead, we have a snack called patbingsu. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but it's all the rage. Songs have been sung about patbingsu, and patbingsu has gone through quite a revolution at the same time, from just the regular old icy snacks to very luxurious, icy, I would say flaky, at the same time soft, and it just melts in your mouth, not in your hand. So wait for that. A young Indonesian man joins us for his observations as well about this bingsu craze.
Now, on today's news summit, Pope Francis will be arriving in Seoul this week on Thursday with a message of peace and reconciliation on the peninsula.
How exciting, right? And ahead of his visit, the Pope sent a video message to Korea, which is generating a lot of clicks online. Our Seo Mi-sorang joins us from the digital room with the details. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. That's right. So this video, it was filmed at the Vatican last Friday as the Pope read from a pre-written script on his desk. Let me show you parts of the video. After expressing gratitude for the warm welcome so far, Pope Francis said that he's coming to share a message of love and hope and asked for prayers so that his Korean visit may be fruitful for both the church and the society at large. Then he mentioned the 2 main events he's coming to Korea for: the 6th Asian Youth Day and the beatification ceremony of the 124 Korean Catholic martyrs to be held at the Gwanghwamun Plaza. Meanwhile, the flame for the upcoming Incheon Asian Games was lit yesterday at the birthplace of the ASEAN in New Delhi. Back home in Korea, the period blockbuster Myeongnyang, or Roaring Currents, broke yet another box office record. This time it surpassed the 10 million viewer mark in just 12 days of its release, the fastest in Korean cinema history. And after the recent bunch of typhoons back-to-back, many are looking up the expected path of another upcoming typhoon, the Typhoon Genevieve. And we'll of course keep you updated on that one as it approaches closer to Korea. Now, as many of you already know, we had a supermoon last night. So there was a lot of excitement online leading up to the supermoon, but when it actually happened, the excitement turned to disappointment. We call the full moon a supermoon when it's closest to the Earth in its elliptical path, which usually happens between 1 to 3 times a year. So naturally, it's larger and shines brighter, about 30% brighter in fact, than usual.
However, there were thick clouds and rain in parts of Korea last night, so many couldn't enjoy it at all. And so they expressed their disappointment by uploading pictures of the murky night sky with the hashtag, "Where is my supermoon?" The good news though is that we have another supermoon coming right up in early September next month, so hopefully the skies will be a lot clearer by then. And that's it for today's edition of your Daily News Sum Up.
Rated the world's best subway system by CNN, Jalopnik, and nicknamed Super Highway by the BBC, Seoul Subway has been recognized for its convenience around the world. So, how about a book that two Americans residing in Korea wrote, traveling various corners of Seoul by visiting subway stations? It's called Charlie and Liz's Seoul Subway Travelogue. It was recently published, written by Charles Usher and photographed by Elizabeth Groeshn. Today we have author Charles Usher in the studio to tell us more about it. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, it sounds like a great idea. How did you come up with this idea and what inspired you?
Well, the idea came to me when I decided to move back to Korea because I'd lived here for a couple years and then left. And when I left, one of my biggest regrets was that I hadn't seen a lot of Seoul. Like I went to the neighborhood I lived in. I went to some of the more famous areas, to Hongdae, to Itaewon, to Gangnam. But I left feeling that there was a lot of the subway that I'd never explored. And when I came back, one of the main things I wanted to do was to see more of the city. And so to kind of make sure I did that, I wanted to give myself some sort of project. And so came up with the idea for creating a blog exploring Seoul based on its various subway stations. And I asked my friend Liz, if she'd like to work on it with me. And fortunately, she said yes. And so that's how the project started. And we didn't really know how it was going to go, but we think it went quite well. And the blog kept going and got more popular. And now it's turned into this book.
So you introduced 140 or so different subway stations, what's around the subway station as well as at the station itself. And you also delve into the history of that area. Now tell us a little about this. What motivated you?
What's the history behind it? What happened here in the past, and how did that shape the neighborhood as it is today? So, history is kind of an integral part of how we look at the neighborhoods, both from a writing and photographic perspective. So, it's we kind of approach it as you might if you're doing a profile of a person, but we're just applying that to a geographical area.
Now, you've been to some other cities with subway systems of their own. What do you think makes Korea's system unique? What do you think sets the city of Seoul, apart from the other cities?
There's the adjective dynamic gets applied to Seoul a lot, and so much so that it kind of gets cliched, but it's also really true. I think Seoul's kind of defining characteristic, and what I find so fascinating about it is just how quickly it changes, how much goes on here, and you walk out the door, and from one day to the next, it's practically a different city. Businesses go in, they go out. Construction happens. It's so fast-paced, and there's always so much going on that, like I said, I've lived here for close to 7 years, but I haven't been bored here. So.
All right, so the top picks. How about you pick one area that you really want to recommend to anyone out there from the book?
One area. Oh, that's a tough question.
Can we do three?
Three is a little more manageable. It's not off the beaten track at all, but I really love the area around Dongdaemun, kind of the Dongdaemun, Dongmyo, Shindang area. You get to see a lot of the old Seoul, a lot of the stuff that hasn't changed. It's full of these fascinating little back alleys to explore. It's full of like little tiny good restaurants, kind of an older demographic that lets you see how Seoul was, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And another area that I really like is not like Hongdae is very well known, but I really prefer kind of the neighborhoods around the
Around
edges
it.
of Hongdae. Those areas have seen a lot of creative spirit injected into them. There's a lot of interesting idiosyncratic cafes and shops that show a very bleeding edge aspect of Seoul. And a third place that I really like is the Mule neighborhood. On kind of the southwest side of town.
Yeah.
And that used to be sort of the kind of like industrial heart of the city back in the 60s and 70s when Korea's development was really go, go, go. And a lot of those machine factories have moved out, but not all of them. And taking the place of those that have moved out have been a lot of small artist studios. And so now you have this really dynamic mix of, underground art and machine shop.
All right, well, Charlie, it's great to have met you and had a chance to talk with you. And I won't be surprised if I see a Charlie and Liz's tour package or Seoul tour package in the near future.
That could be happening. We'll see.
All right, sounds great. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, speaking of subway stops, if you ever want a great workout, one station you should check out is the Konkuk University subway station on line 207 because those stairs, man, really big workout there. Well, speaking of making stops, our first stop this morning, well, we're going to kick things off with the 2014 Rhythmic Gymnastics World Cup in Bulgaria as South Korea's very own Son Yeon-jae went after a 10th straight medal finish. And 10 straight is what she got as she wins the bronze medal in the individual all-around for her first medal before finishing off the event with the bronze medal in the hoop event as well, finishing with 17.900. Now, her individual all-around medal finish is just her second medal since the Lisbon World Cup in Portugal back in April, as she hopes to continue her success going into the 2014 Incheon Asian Games in September. And speaking of third place finishes, let's now move over to figure skating, where the 2014 Figure Skating Asian Trophy took place over the weekend in Taiwan. And with Korean figure skating fans looking forward to post-Kim Yeon-a's success, 17-year-old Park So-yeon is looking pretty promising. Now, after scoring a subpar 49.20 in her short program, she comes back strong in the free skating performance, scoring a 111.29 to finish off in third place with her overall score of 160.49 points. Now, she continues to show a promising future as she previously finished in 9th place during the World Championships back in March. And now shifting over to Sunday's K-League Classic action, where a couple of matches take place as Incheon United defeated Gyeongnam FC 2-0 with Suwon also shutting out Jeju United 1-0. You want to take a look at the highlights between FC Seoul and Busan I-Park. And of course, going into the match here, not the most exciting first half of the match as both teams go scoreless despite a couple of chances as the match goes into the second half 0-0. But it's FC Seoul who gets on the score sheet late as Molina converts the spot kick here in the 78th minute for a 1-0 lead. Shortly after, just before the 90th minute mark, it's Escudero who sends one past the goalkeeper, giving FC Seoul the 2-0 lead and the win. And now with that, let's move on to Sunday's KBO action, or the lack of action, after 3 of the games were canceled due to rain. But the Kia Tigers and the Lotte Giants did get their game in, so let's take a look at the highlights. And of course, going into the game here, we go over to the first inning of the game. Choi Jun-suk deep to right center, gone, a 2-run shot, gives the Lotte Giants the early 2-0 lead. By the bottom of the inning, it's Brett Pill who answers back with a 2-run shot of his own, and we're tied 2-2. Shifting to the 5th inning, bases loaded for Shin Jong-gil. Bases clearing triple here, and the Kia Tigers take a 5-2 lead. Meanwhile, Kim Byung-hyun throwing a jam, tossing 6 innings, giving up just 2 runs while striking out 6. As the Kia Tigers hang on to win this game 6-3, your final score. And now finishing things off in the majors, despite a rather disappointing season so far, Choo Shin-soo of the Texas Rangers hit a milestone on Saturday after hitting his 1,000th hit of his career. The Texas Rangers taking on the Houston Astros. Choo Shin-soo goes 4-for-5 on the day to get his 100th hit of the season and his 1,000th hit of this career as well. That's but a big game from Choo. Yu Darvish struggles on the mound as the Texas Rangers lost the game 8-3. And now that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone had a great weekend. I'm Simon O, and that, of course, means it's time for Viral Feed. I need some cheering up today. My wife woke me up to look at the supermoon last night, and she said it reminded her of me while looking pointedly at my stomach. So, as I try to cheer myself up after that, thankfully, we have some excellent stories to have a look at today. As you can see, quite a lineup. Now, it's still hot, it's cooled down a little bit today, but it's still a season where we'd like to see some sports that can cool us down a little bit. So, for our first story, we're gonna have a look at some thrill seekers who give a whole new meaning to the word speed. Let's have a look. Now, this is a type of sport that's known as speed flying or speed riding. Now, basically, it's like paragliding, but much, much faster. Now, the fabric wing that's used for this is smaller, and it's meant for places with faster winds than normal paragliding. Now, look at this. This guy's aiming for something. He aims and gets right in there between the buildings.
This guy takes
Confidence.
confidence.
He's a daredevil is what he is.
You really have to know what you're doing.
My goodness. Now, take a look at this. We're on top a skyscraper in Panama City, Panama. What are these people doing? Right away, you know it's not something ordinary people would do.
That is.
They are zip lining. Now, this group of thrill seekers is taking turns zip lining down the longest urban zip line. Right, exactly. As if this weren't bad enough, like you mentioned, right in the middle of it, they let go and parachute down to the ground.
So it's like zip line base jumping.
It's a mix of zip lining, and parachute. It's, I gotta say, I just have to call it crazy. This group of adrenaline fans, they're called the Devon Supertramp. They're an extreme sports group, and look at this. They're just letting go in the middle of the zip line.
Are there legality issues with this? I'm kind of wondering. They're just jumping right into the city.
What happens if your parachute doesn't open?
Goodbye.
I think footwear is probably the last of your worries if you're jumping off a building and then off of the line, that's the only thing you're clinging to. Those guys seem pretty crazy to me. I don't know.
Would you do it, Simon?
I think I'd have to be paid a lot of money, and also there would have to be a large stash
don't you want to try to do this just like once in your life?
No, never.
It might be
That's why I'm happy as I am here.
Alrighty, moving on to slightly safer grounds. Many of us, of course, are fans of K-pop. And one of the most amazing things about K-pop is the awesome dance choreography. Where do those moves come from, though? We don't always know, but apparently some internet users here in Korea have found some potential inspiration. Let's have a look. Now, the four-member group Sistar's popularity has been soaring since the release of their latest single. It's called Touch My Body. And they have this hot move, I love it. It's called the Apple Hip Dance. Of course, I love it. And web users are claiming to know the inspiration behind it. Now, this is nice and sexy, nice and beautiful. Where does it come from? There it is. It's Chopalge, the animated pig, in the opening montage of a Korean animation from many, many years ago. Now, moving up to Rain, this is the world star who melted hearts of ladies everywhere with his oh-so-smooth body waves. What was that inspired by? What's this honor animation? Look at that. The similarity, I think, is difficult to deny.
I lost all my respect for Rain.
Okay.
Now, moving on to the boy band Beast. Their fans decided, it must come from Happy Feet. Take a look at that. Pretty similar, huh?
That's cute.
I know that dance.
Pretty similar. Now, this last one, isn't an animation, but take a look at Girls' Generation with their song G, and then have a look at the choreographed 1950 movie, Singing in the Rain. Completely different eras, and yet somehow, take a look at this. How's it gonna sync up?
Kind of.
Kind of, exactly. It's perfect. Seriously, I know that web users across the world are amazing, but some of the fans here, just the stuff they come up with, amazing. I know there's talk about how sometimes you can sync up like Pink Floyd and the Wizard of Oz, and apparently it gives you a message. I think it can't be any cooler than this. Alrighty, let's go on to our next story. Every now and then we walk along walls and we think, it's just a wall, or we don't even think that at all. But some people take a look at these ordinary things, notice little details, and turn them into something extraordinary. Let's have a look. Urban artwork gives people the opportunity to form a fresh new perspective, and Dongpirang village of Tongyang City here in Korea is a great example of that. Have a look at some of these beautiful murals on the walls. Now, they're not just nice to look at, although they are, of course, very beautiful. What's amazing is that these murals, these voluntary artworks, saved a lot of this village from being torn down. There were plans for renovations, and they said, it's just too beautiful. Now we hop over to France to check out some of their street art. There's some good stuff here. We see a crack turn into a web for Spider-Man. We see a drain cover turn into a snail. There's some of this great stuff. Edvard Munch makes an appearance. An alligator forms on the wall. A conical block turns into a comical block. We see Raphael, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, going for his pizza. Now, actually, all these works of street art come from a French artist by the name of Oak. Now, these weren't just completely out of the blue. He decided he wanted to renovate some of the more rundown parts of his hometown, and it got such a huge following that he decided, let's take it all over France. And now, all over the country of France, you can see some of his very interesting work. So I really am inspired by this. We look at a storm drain and you think, you know, that's where trash and water goes. But look how he turns it into something worth looking at again.
Right there.
I think it's, I would have this on my wall.
Fish.
Oh, well, it's a beautiful dead fish.
It's a beautiful dead fish.
Appreciate some art, yeah.
Alrighty, speaking of art, here's another very interesting form of modern art. Flash mobs are a pretty recent development, but they have sort of taken ground as a very important way to get a message across. In Korea, of course, flash mobs are very, very prevalent. So let's have a look at some of the flash mobs that have been forming around our capital, Seoul. Now, this mini flash mob took place in a location in Seoul that probably has the most foot traffic in any given day. It's Gangnam Station. Now, these people took command of a crosswalk spanning a 10-lane road and started to groove. Now, it was a part of a campaign sharing Korea's traditional folk song, Arirang, and the timing had to be perfect because the crosswalk signal was only about 30 seconds long. Now, location is key, of course, when it comes to flash mobs with a message. One popular spot, of course, is Gwanghwamun Plaza in the heart of Seoul. This particular one was a message about the Dokdo Islets of Korea. Very impressive. I love how so many people can get together for a single cause this way. I think that's what makes flash mobs so amazing. This is another flash mob in the same location. It was meant to promote a dance festival here in Korea. Have a look at that. Look how excited everyone gets. And what I love is that it starts out choreographed and then you get the entire crowd sort of dancing along. That cooperation, that collaborative spirit, I do love it. Now, we did mention, of course, that Pope Francis will be visiting Korea very soon.
Yeah.
And he will be making an appearance at Gwanghwamun Plaza. I wonder if anything cool is going to happen then.
Maybe he'll do a flash mob.
That would be great if Pope Francis led like a moonwalk, like a Catholic moonwalk for the beatification.
Catholic moonwalk.
I think that would be pretty cool. I don't know. Maybe he'll show us.
That would be historic.
It would. Anyhow, that's going to wrap it up for me today with Viral Feed. I hope you've had as much fun as I have. I'll see you next week with more. Ciao for now.
Tis the season of patbingsu, or shaved ice, as we call it, and Koreans love it so much that there's a song dedicated to patbingsu.
빙수야, 팥빙수야.
There you go. That's the spirit. Well, there's a foreigner who really wanted to try out patbingsu, all the patbingsu that Korea has to offer. And
That's right.
His name is?
Hans Christian Benvenuto joins us this morning. He had a whole array of different patbingsus. I call you the master, the Jedi of patbingsu.
Oh, thank you. I'm a Yoda, actually.
There you go.
Welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so tell us a little bit about what you did.
Oh, so actually we went around Hongdae and we went to a lot of shopping bingsu places and we tried a lot of bingsus. And I had enough. Actually, my head is freezing right now. I still remember the feeling when I ate all those bingsus. Yeah.
A bit of brain freeze right there, huh?
Yeah, true.
And I know you've been posting some YouTube videos online.
True.
What kind of videos do you upload?
So far, I posted 6 videos, but 4 of them are all about Korea. So I made an introduction about Korea. I also made a video about the subway system, which is there are a lot of unusual things. I also made a video about my Jeonju trip. And also lastly, I made a video about K-pop, which everyone knows about K-pop. So it's all about how foreigners really sing K-pop. So yeah.
Interesting.
So you do have a large interest in Korea's culture in general, pop culture and food culture.
Because I came here 6 months ago and I had a lot of culture shock. So from that kind of experience, I made a video out of it. Because I thought that my country, Indonesia and Korea, we have some kind of like cultural differences, and then from out of it, I made the video. So for example, we don't have subway system, and then here I recognize a lot of things, a lot of differences in the subway system. So from that, I have like, okay, I got an idea. So I made a video out of it.
Okay, so
yeah,
very enthusiastic about that, especially about 팥빙수 this time around.
Yeah, true.
Okay, let's check out the video then.
Okay. For anyone walking down the street of Seoul, this is a familiar sight. Stores that sell 팥빙수 and tons of people eating it. Even though there are so many stores that sell bingsu, there are always people lined up to get a taste, and I was curious why. I learned that the bingsu craze was unusually hot this year, and not just a summer dessert, but even a cooler weather. So how and why did bingsu become everyone's favorite snack? So since I came here, I saw a lot of Korean people eating 팥빙수 everywhere. So I'm really curious, therefore I'm gonna make a video about 팥빙수. So let's start. The best way to get answers? Ask around. 어떤 생각 있어요? 팥빙수에 대해서? 일주일 몇 번 빙수 먹나요? Ice was precious way back when sokbingo was where it was stored. A brilliant Joseon dynasty innovation. Around 1960s to 1970s, ice was smashed up and sweet red beans added to make 팥빙수.
A bit of history about 팥빙수 there.
And as 팥빙수 became more and more popular, variations of the cold snack started coming out. All different tastes for all different bingsu fans.
Wow. More than 10 different kinds.
Melon bingsu랑 more than 20, I guess.
I think you can just take it as far as your imagination goes.
I ordered this store's specialty, melon bingsu, and 4 other kinds.
You didn't try the kimchi bingsu?
No, there wasn't any.
Such a...
I'm gonna start right now with the melon bingsu. Say hi. Okay.
Wow.
Pleasing on the eye.
Sweet, nutty, icy cold deliciousness. They were all so good. I couldn't put my spoon down. First, because you feel it's a bit sour because it's lemon, but then the powder makes it soury, sweet, but not cream. So it has a really unique taste, and you should try this one. Of course, I couldn't try every single type of bingsu, but I did know this for certain. The bingsu selection was huge.
Wow.
And it was still growing.
That's the
wow.
bingsu.
I heard about a very special bingsu and went to go try at hotel in Seoul. As large as the selection, I learned that the pricing was one extreme to the other two. I thought I read the menu wrong at first. How much was this hotel's very special bingsu? Wow.
75,000.
I know hotels are a bit more pricey overall, but the reason behind the high pricing kind of made sense when I heard the ingredients. The main ingredient was a sorbet made of a top quality champagne, Dom Perignon.
And those are actual gold flakes on that, right?
Probably the first and the last time I got to try 75,000 won bingsu. I couldn't wait to see what it tastes like. And of course, I recorded this moment for my vlog. So, say hello to the 75,000 won bingsu. Say hi! So now, let's dig in.
I'm talking roughly about 75 or 74 US dollars.
The champagne bingsu, I had to admit it, it was pretty good. Really good, actually.
So was it worth
Are those
Tastes like
angels
heaven.
coming out of your mouth?
True, it was an animation. I couldn't stop eating it. Also, you can see the atmosphere in this hotel is 5-star. The service is 5-star. The bingsu is 5-star. So you can never have this kind of experience except here. So this is truly a 5-star experience. Now that we tried something really fancy and expensive, I had to try what was on the other end of this pricing spectrum. 네, 팥빙수 어디 있어요?
네?
팥빙수.
팥빙수 냉장고.
아, 네.
No serving for you. Just go get it yourself.
팥빙수 that's sold at any convenience store in Korea.
See, Hans,
so
that's
they
what I
sell
usually
팥빙수 here as well in
Oh,
supermarket.
as opposed to the $75
Well,
one.
next time I'll share you one that 75,000 won.
2,000원이요.
와, 너무 싸네요. 그럼 제가 한 번 더 살게요. 그냥 하나 더 살게요. That's nothing compared to the hotel bingsu. So I bought 2. 그게
4,000원이에요.
네.
Maybe you can mix some soju in there and get a similar experience.
Excuse me.
So this is for me and this is for you. Here, take it.
Oh,
I
feeling
couldn't at
generous,
the
huh?
hotel, but here I could treat others.
Oh.
Just one thing to remember, if you're buying convenience store bingsu, the ice will be a bit hard to break up, but there is a solution. And she said earlier that actually we have to put milk before we eat this, but then if you just want to eat it like this, it's okay. After all the research that I did, it was time to share my findings with the World Wide Web. Besides, that's why I overindulged in bingsu today. And I'm gonna put everything together, I'm gonna make an interesting video. So, it's all done. Let's see. All really good. 75,000 won. It's amazing.
So which one was the best? I mean, what would you put your...
Well, obviously, you know which one.
I mean, is it because... is it really no, is it... this, I have a question. I mean,
Okay.
Is it really because of the amount of money that goes into that bingsu, or did it really taste that good?
Well, personally, I like the traditional one. So I like the one with the black sesame powder. I prefer that one than the 75,000 one.
Okay.
Because the 75,000, you know, it's in the hotel, and also they kind of like giving the new dining experience. So they put up the price, and then people are like, wow, 75,000 bingsu. So I'm gonna try it.
It also has champagne ice cream in there.
Yeah.
So.
I could taste the champagne. Really, it's like the 100% champagne.
So you're
sorbet.
really paying for the whole experience, not just that bowl of 팥빙수.
I even talked to the
Must have been
pastry
fun.
chef,
Right.
and he's like, well, I'm sure this is 100%. This is no fake. Yeah, I believe you, chef. I believe you.
Well, this is no $75 팥빙수, but
this
we
is
are
the
going to
traditional.
make
Yeah.
some 팥빙수. You are going to make for us, in fact, this
Oh
morning,
yeah,
right?
so yeah, I'm gonna teach you because I got all experience about bingsu, but I never get to try my own bingsu.
All right.
So would you like to try mine?
Yes.
Yes.
And also this kind of machine, I heard that every Korean family has this kind of thing.
Right.
Because
But mine
we-
has a panda face.
Mine's manual.
I should
so
try the
is mine.
SpongeBob one then. Do they come in yellow or something?
Yellow, yes. Right on the money.
Yeah.
All right, well, so what are you going to do?
So first we're gonna try the traditional bingsu, which is the traditional red bean, sweetened red bean. We have the sweetened red bean right here. We have the ice, and we also have the tok or the rice cake.
We're running out of time, so I think we should really get it going.
Okay,
so
true.
let's get
make
started.
it fast.
Without
So
much ado.
Just put the ice here. Okay.
Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Whoa.
true.
Look at that.
Oh, it's going so slow.
I could just eat that
be enough.
So yeah, I think it's enough as well.
Right.
And
Let's put
then
in some key
first we-
ingredients.
Yeah,
the
the
condensed
first
milk.
one, the condensed milk.
That
So we
makes
gotta
it
put it.
sweeter.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it
sweet.
looks so good.
Ooh.
And then usually we put the sweetened red bean on top. Otherwise it would look so a little bit ugly. Okay. Oh wow.
Wow, that's
This is the part that I think many Western folks might see a little bit of
the sweetened red
yeah,
beans.
but you know, it's hard to imagine. They usually imagine red beans being salty or being seasoned differently, but
Okay,
it's very sweet and very yummy.
Also the media core
Right.
is the
That's the key
rice
part
cake.
for me.
This is
Yeah, that's the dessert within the dessert.
Right.
That little chewy texture that you get.
So
But these days, patbingsu always comes with some kind of extra ingredients like mango and some other ingredients.
And some
whatever
people
you
don't-
want, you can go ahead and put it on there. Kiwis, but we're gonna stay traditional today.
yeah, this
Right,
is the
it's a
traditional one.
basic.
So
Are you gonna dig in, or are you gonna
Yeah,
let us also eat?
well, some people don't really know how to eat it, so I'm gonna mix it first because some people just eat it like that.
Perfect.
Okay, so
So I
while
would like
we
to
go
try.
ahead and start trying that, we are going to say
go.
goodbye to our viewers. And
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hans,
Yeah, it
and
was a
for
great
this
time.
patbingsu.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.